In the fierce natural world, predators always think they are the ones in control of life and death. But sometimes, it is the prey that costs them their lives. Among them, snakes, silent, deadly, and scheming, are the most terrifying creatures when cornered. From arid deserts to humid jungles, counterattacks from this cold reptile have left many hunters dead. Over the next 30 minutes, let's explore the breathtaking and shocking moments when snakes become predators of their predators. In a world where life is always faced with death, where every step can be a final mistake, there exists a creature that doesn't need a roar, doesn't need speed, nor does it need muscle power to instill fear. It moves without a sound, hiding in the grass, under the sand, in the cracks of the cliff, and in the subjectivity of the hunter. It was a snake, a nightmare with no warning. Millions of years ago, when the first forests grew on this planet, snakes were present. No legs, no arms, but that doesn't make him slow or weak. They are the perfect crystallization of adaptation. A body so resilient that it can roll itself through even knife-sharp rock crevices. A sense sensitive enough to sense the warmth of its prey in the dark. And an instinct so sharp that it can make all of nature bow in admiration. The world of snakes is a world of waiting. They don't chase. They don't need to follow. They wait. Wait for your prey to get close. Wait for the perfect moment, then strike like lightning. Some attacks last less than 0.3 seconds, but are enough to change the fate of an entire life. And the scariest thing is you never know you're in the crosshairs until it's too late. Snakes are not always hunters. They are also hunted by eagles, mongooses, otters, wild boars, and even humans. But when cornered, when there is no way back, snakes do not ask for mercy. They turned back and fought back, not with madness, but with cold precision. A head lift, a launch, one decisive bite. Whether it's a cobra with an arrogant posture, spreading its gills like a warrior in the middle of a burning desert, or a green snake hiding in the forest leaves as if it never existed, they all share a common secret. Silence is the most terrifying weapon. Snakes do not rule through strength. They survive through silence, patience, and the fear they instill in every living creature around them. And when snakes become predators, sometimes, the hunter is the real prey. In the heart of Asia's tropical rainforests, where the sounds of cicadas resonate like nature's orchestra, where every branch can be a shelter, and every shadow hides the unknown, a creature almost as long as a canoe glides silently through a carpet of leaf litter. No rush, no fear. Every crawl is a statement. Because this is not an ordinary snake. This is the king, King Cobra. Unlike its smaller brothers, king cobras do not live in the shadow of seclusion. It is not simply a stalker. It is a ruler. More than 16 feet long, with gills as open as a dragon's shield, cold golden eyes, and a powerful head tilt. The king cobra enters the wild not to dodge, but to claim its territory. It is not only the longest venomous snake in the world, it is a predator of other snakes. The king cobra is an assassin who specializes in hunting snakes. Indian cobras, rat snakes, kraits, even smaller species, all can become a meal. Once it has set its sights on a target, it pursues tirelessly, sometimes over the edge of forests and rocky streams, only to end its life with a venomous bite to the back of the neck. It doesn't roar. Don't rush away like a wild animal. But within each curved and hollow fang lies a biological weapon designed to kill brutally, quickly, and effectively. That's king cobra venom, a nearly clear liquid, but with enough power to knock a baby elephant down within a few hours. Unlike many other venomous snakes that mainly cause paralysis through the nervous system, the king cobra's venom is a sophisticated combination of neurotoxicity and cardiotoxicity. When a bite occurs, the curved fangs at the front of its upper jaw sink deep into its prey's skin, and in a split second, a dose of venom is injected into the bloodstream. Neurotoxins quickly block nerve synapses, the contact points between nerve cells and muscles. The result, signals from the brain cannot be transmitted, causing muscles to paralyze, including respiratory muscles. The victim begins to hyperventilate, then stops breathing, and finally dies in silence. Meanwhile, cardiotoxins begin to destroy heart muscle cells and tissues surrounding the bite. They dissolve cells, cause rapid necrosis, and cause the heart to contract abnormally. In the case of large prey, the venom will gradually weaken them before they stop breathing, allowing the king cobra to swallow its prey without wasting energy. One special thing is that, even though it is a snake hunter, the king cobra is not completely immune to the venom of its kind. If bitten during a fight, it can be seriously affected, which is why their fights often involve wrestling rather than direct biting. King cobra venom is a survival tool, not for torture, but for finishing. Fast, compact, no tolerance. But the scariest thing is its intelligence. In the reptile world, most snakes act based on reflexes and instincts. But the king cobra is different. It can observe, track, and remember the location of its prey's nest and plan the perfect time to attack. In scientific experiments, it demonstrates a remarkable ability to learn and adapt, a cold-as-steel intelligence housed in the body of a slithering assassin. No one is safe if they dare to threaten it, not even predators. When attacked by the wild eagle, the king cobra did not retreat. It turned around, raised its head to nearly 1/3 of its body length, expanded its gills, emitting a deep and thick hiss like thunder echoing from deep in the forest. It wasn't just a warning, it was a declaration of war. And when it comes, nothing can stop it. The launch was so fast that even the hunting bird had to retreat. One bite to the wing or neck, and the balance of battle turns. Not because the king cobra is stronger, but because it is not afraid. It knows it can win. And for each subjective opponent, the price to pay is often life. Even humans, in many cultures, view the king cobra with both reverence and fear. In India, it is the embodiment of gods, sacred animals painted on temple walls. But in nature, where myths do not exist, the king cobra is a living, breathing, and killing entity. It does not like to kill, but if necessary, it will not hesitate. Each attack is a lesson in tactics. Every fight is a reminder never underestimate a creature just because it's quiet. In the wild, where survival is the ultimate law, the king cobra is not just the king of snakes. It is a nightmare in the form of a vengeful god. As the summer sunlight gradually fades over the Western Ghats, the densely forested region of southern India, most creatures begin to prepare for the coming rainy season. But not everyone sought shelter. There was a man who, after weeks of fasting, was following the trail of death, hidden in the carpet of leaves. A king cobra, the uncrowned ruler of the forest, is on the hunt. It doesn't look for birds, frogs, or mice. Its menu is other snakes. A rat snake, a dangerous predator for rodents. Today, it accidentally slithered through the hunting area and entered the sights of the king cobra. In just a split second, the king cobra rushed forward with lightning speed, sinking its long fangs deep into its prey's body. From there, a stream of extremely powerful neurotoxin is pumped straight into the victim's nervous system. Not long after, the rat snake became motionless, completely paralyzed. Unable to chew, unable to tear flesh, the king cobra uses the species' ancient technique swallowing whole. Its flexible jaw muscles separated and expanded little by little, enough to cover the entire snake's body, almost as long as itself. Thanks to special joints in the skull and jaw, and a highly developed musculature around the neck, the king cobra gradually pulls its prey deep into the digestive system, a straight, long, and surprisingly elastic tube. This act of devouring can last for dozens of minutes. But it is not clumsy. Each swallow is a smooth, graceful, and precise movement, rhythmic like a deadly dance. Biologically, the king cobra is the only snake species with a diet so specialized that it almost exclusively eats other snakes. Its venom contains special enzymes that destroy nerve connections, leaving the prey unable to react, despite remaining conscious for the first few seconds. And once the prey is swallowed whole, the king cobra's powerful digestive system processes the whole thing, including bones and skin, thanks to extremely acidic gastric juices and powerful decomposing enzymes. This is not just a meal. This is proof of one thing in the world of snakes. The king does not need swords and spears, only venom and silence. The breeding season has entered its final days. A rare time of year when the silence of the green forest is broken, not by the sound of wind or wild animals, but by steps crawling close to the ground, silently but full of purpose. Somewhere in the jungles of southern India, a male king cobra was approaching a village on the edge of the forest, not to hunt for prey, but to find a mate. With its characteristic forked tongue, it gently sweeps through the air, collecting invisible chemical molecules which humans cannot see or smell. But to it, every breeze is a chemical map. The concentrated pheromone flow of a nearby female is an irresistible invitation, a signal that turns the hunter into one driven by his deepest instinct survival. But this male is not alone. A rival followed that trail from deep in the forest, another king cobra, also attracted by that enchanting scent. No warning, no roar, just a presence, strong and unmistakable, began to appear at the edge of the village. The native snake's sharp eyes detect intruders from hundreds of meters away. With eyesight that can detect movement at distances of up to 330 feet, the king cobra is one of the few snakes with good vision, an extremely rare trait in the reptile world. And today, that vision has uncovered a direct threat to fatherhood. No negotiations, no tolerance. The two males crawled straight towards each other, their giant bodies starting to rise from the ground, maybe more than a meter tall, just from the head to the front half of the body. The snake's gills spread wide, like two ancient war fans, stretched out in a threatening pose that is both beautiful and deadly. But this war was not a massacre. To my surprise, neither of them bit. In the world of king cobras, biting is ineffective behavior. Reason: their venom, although extremely strong against other species, has very little effect on their species. Additionally, consuming precious poison in a fight between two individuals of the same species is something nature has taught them to avoid. Instead, they fight unexpectedly wrestling. Their supple and flexible bodies curl around each other, intertwining like living ropes. The fight becomes a physical and tactical contest. The only goal is to pin the opponent's head to the ground. In the world of king cobras, head pressing symbolizes submission. Those who lie down will have to retreat. The fight lasted for hours, an endurance rarely seen in reptiles. Both warriors growled, tightened and pressed, moving from the village to the edge of the forest, ignoring the world around them. There is no room for distraction. There's only one thing that matters: the right to procreate. 5 hours passed. There was no more anger, only fatigue and pain. And finally, the loser let loose, slithering quietly into the darkness of the forest, carrying with him defeat and an instinctive shame. There is no blood, no death. There is only an underlying order in the natural world: the strong will have the right to procreate. The local king cobra is now the winner. And with that victory, it was given the highest reward in the evolutionary helix: the opportunity to maintain its bloodline. It walked towards the queen, the female hiding in the bush. The mating begins not by chance, but by the sweat of an ancient battle, where creatures that make no sound still silence the forest. In the eastern jungle, where all creatures live under the cruel laws of the jungle, a rare encounter is taking place, not between hunter and prey, but between two kings of the same empire. Two king cobras, the world's longest venomous snakes, are facing off in a battle of wits and strength, not just for territory, but for the right to survive and reproduce. It is no coincidence that this snake has the formidable title of snake eater. Most of its menu consists of other snakes, from harmless water snakes to even small pythons. But this time, the opponent is not a weak prey, but a fellow human being, a worthy opponent. The war did not begin with vicious bites, as one might think. No, the king cobra fights with its body, bending, squeezing, pushing, like two ancient wrestlers. They try to pin their opponents to the ground, taking the initiative. They rarely bite immediately, because unlike some other snakes, king cobras are not completely immune to the venom of their species. One wrong bite can turn the match into a tragedy. This duel is also part of the mating season. Lurking nearby is a female watching, silently, from the safety of her hiding place. With cold, expressionless eyes, it waited, not just for the winner, but for the worthy one. Because only the strongest male has the right to pass on his blood. As the standoff dragged on, differences began to become apparent. The thick, muscular body of one side gradually dominates. The weaker one begins to slow down. His movements become inaccurate. In a decisive moment, it turned and ran away. No blood was shed. There are no dead bodies. There is only failure and the rise of the stronger. This is not just a match. This is how nature selects. Don't rely on cruelty, which relies on endurance, precision, and the deepest desire to survive. They're not big. No knife-sharp claws, no venom, no scary muscle strength. But if you're a snake, especially a cobra, then this is the one you never want to face: the mongoose. In the parched grasslands of India, where the sun shines like fire, and every creature must adapt to survive. The mongoose appears as a small warrior with the heart of a lion, less than 23 inches long, covered in thick gray-brown fur, sparkling eyes, and electric shock reactions. This animal is one of the most formidable opponents nature has ever created. No one thought that such a small creature would be capable of confronting the most dangerous venomous snake on the planet. But the truth is that the mongoose not only fought, but also won. The encounter between a cobra and a mongoose is a match between deadly venom and the speed of light. And often, speed wins. When a snake raises its gills and makes a warning hiss, most small animals will immediately retreat. But the mongoose advanced again, without hesitation. They jump back and forth, constantly tricking their opponents with inch-accurate dodges. One wrong bite is enough to cost your life. But mongooses know that, and they have never been afraid. Their dense fur acts as a natural armor, helping to minimize the impact of a bite. But the most powerful weapon lies inside the mongoose's nervous system is able to partially resist neurotoxic venom, an extremely rare biological feature in the animal world. Although not completely immune, they can withstand a bite if they can escape and quickly counterattack. However, not every battle is for life. Many confrontations take place because of hunting instincts, because to mongooses, snakes are not only a threat, but also food, a nutritious, protein-rich, and challenging feast. In addition to their fighting skills, mongooses are also social creatures. They live in herds, protect each other, teach their children how to fight, how to hunt, and how to survive in harsh environments. Each individual is a warrior, but the herd is a compact, agile, and cunning army. They are symbols of courage, of the uncompromising survival instinct, and a reminder that in nature, it's not all about size, it's about speed, cunning, and fearless heart. In the hot desert of southern Africa, where every rock becomes an ambush, where dust hides calculating eyes, an ancient confrontation begins again, not between two predators, but between two bitter rivals, both wielding deadly weapons. A South African cobra slithered out from a crack in a low bush. The skin is as golden as sand, sparkling in the sun, but inside those scales is venom strong enough to kill an elephant if injected in enough dose. With an extremely sensitive nervous system, it detects movement from afar and is ready to deliver an electric shock-like bite when encountering an enemy. In nature, it is a silent killer, without hesitation. But today, the shadow approaching was no ordinary prey. It was a yellow mongoose, small, agile, and strangely brave. With its slim body and pale fur, it doesn't look intimidating. But don't let appearances fool you. In the wild, the mongoose is not just a survivor. It is a famous snake exterminator. For a few short seconds, the two stood face to face, without a roar, without a sharp breath, only eyes, the eyes of an assassin. The mongoose walked slowly, step by step. No panic, no fear. It did this many times. Every movement of the snake, every threatening bulge has been learned and memorized by it from previous battles. This was not a sudden attack. This is a game of life and death, and the mongoose knows every move. The cobra straightened up, raised its head high above the opponent's face, its gills spread out like a symbol of death. A single launch, if it hits, can stop an enemy's heart in less than a minute. Cape Cobra's venom contains extremely powerful neurotoxin, directly affecting the central nervous system, causing the victim's body to paralyze, stop breathing, and suffocate. But mongooses have an advantage that very few creatures have: partial immunity to snake venom. Thanks to a special mutation in the acetylcholine receptor, where neurotoxins often attack, it can tolerate small amounts of venom and still keep fighting. Although not completely immortal, it is enough to make it the enemy of the snake family. The two creatures moved in a spiral, like two ancient warriors looking for each other's weaknesses. Each bite is neutralized by an incredibly fast dodge. The mongoose jumped up, turned sideways, and dodged the attack just a few millimeters from its face, a dodge that would make even cats jealous. Then, there was silence. Both stopped, breathing heavily, waiting for the other party to make a mistake. In the end, it was the mongoose's quiet calculation that helped him win. But this time, he did not end the battle with blood. It knows the snake is tired. It's no longer a threat. And most importantly, mongooses are not hungry. In nature, killing is not always an option. Sometimes, survival is simply a matter of proving I am stronger, and I let you live. A battle is more than just instinct. It's about intelligence, daring, and the art of survival. When snakes and mongooses face off, The winner is not the more ruthless one, but the one who understands his limits. When dawn had not yet risen above the horizon, a small yellow creature quietly returned after a hard night of foraging. That's the yellow mongoose, a wanderer of the African semi-desert, famous for its agile legs and fearless spirit. Its eyes are dry. Its ears are always pricked up like natural antennas catching all vibrations of heaven and earth. But right now, what it needs is not a meal, but a place to rest. It crawls straight into the ground squirrel's nest, a complex network of burrows meticulously dug under the hot sand. But the surprising thing is, the ground squirrel did not show any signs of discomfort. On the contrary, the presence of the yellow mongoose makes it feel safer. With wide-open eyes and innate alertness, ground squirrels now confidently leave the mouth of the burrow, venturing deeper into open areas to find sprouts and seeds. Because between these two species, there exists an unspoken agreement. In nature, where competition for survival is an iron law, cooperation between two unrelated species is rare. But the symbiotic relationship between ground squirrels and yellow mongooses is a surprising exception. Both share the same residence. In return, one side will keep watch, and the other side will fight if necessary. And then, an intruder appeared, the Cape-hooded cobra, one of Africa's most deadly venomous snakes, has discovered a colony of baby squirrels. With its forked tongue constantly sniffing the air, it hissed lightly, crawling close to the cave without making a sound. Its skin color almost completely blends into the color of the sand, making it invisible to less sensitive eyes. A baby squirrel moved carelessly near the cave entrance, not realizing the danger nearby. His father was the opposite, standing far away but detecting unusual movements. With only 1/3 the size of a snake, it understands that if it rushes in, both it and its children will lose their lives. But it knows another way. It let out a series of warning sounds, urgent hisses that echoed through the network of underground caverns. And the mongoose heard. Without hesitation, it rushed forward. In the world of mongooses, poisonous snakes are not an invincible enemy. With a reaction speed measured in just a few hundredths of a second, the mongoose can dodge lightning-fast attacks. In addition, thanks to a special type of acetylcholine receptor, their bodies are almost immune to cobra venom, which causes muscle paralysis and cardiac arrest in most mammals. The confrontation begins. The snake puffed its gills and rushed forward with teeth filled with venom, but the mongoose seemed to be dancing. It dodged each attack, spun around, then suddenly counterattacked with a grab to the neck. Snake staggered, then gave up. This time, it was lucky to escape. Not every time. The danger has passed. The little squirrels are still safe. The mongoose returned, without a scratch, without a word of thanks. But the way the ground squirrel continued to let it live in its burrow was a recognition. A home, a protector, a relationship without strings attached, just trust and complementary skills. In this harsh land, sometimes survival comes not from personal strength, but from the strangest alliances that nature creates. In the middle of the scorching African savanna, as the ground trembled under the rising heat, a dark shadow suddenly crossed the sky. It was not the shadow of a cloud, but of a winged assassin, one whom snakes fear more than anything else. That is the brown eagle, a bird known as the fierce god on the snake's head. With cold yellow eyes and a look that seems to penetrate every smallest movement on the ground. The brown eagle is a master at detecting the movements of reptilian creatures hidden under the grass. It does not fly as high as many other eagles, because what it is looking for is not prey running away in flocks, but snakes, creatures that are quiet, deadly, and know how to hide. Its nearly 6-foot wingspan helps it maintain perfect balance as it hovers close to the ground, watching each wave of grass. Once it has spotted its target, a cobra or viper slithering in search of shade, it swoops down without a sound. It lunged forward with its claws extended, and for a brief moment, its claws were as sharp as iron hooks, pinning the snake before it could react. But the snake did not die easily. It writhed, turned its head, and tried to bite back. However, the brown eagle has been blessed with an amazing trait. Its legs have thick skin and a tough bone structure, helping it to withstand poisonous bites, even from cobras or kraits. It does not swallow snakes on the spot. Instead, it kills its prey with multiple precise pecks to the head, a decisive and unforgiving method. When the snake stopped struggling, the brown eagle lifted its limp body into the sky, as if carrying a trophy back to its nest for its hungry, waiting cubs. In a world where snakes are often the sowers of death, it's strange that a creature would dare call them a meal. And the brown eagle, with its courage and innate killer skills, is the only ruler who dares to hunt death with its claws. Amid the blazing sunlight of the African plains, where every dry blade of grass seems to cry under the heat of the sun, a breathtaking scene is taking place. A brown snake eagle, a notorious snake-hunting bird, is clutching under its claws one of the most dangerous creatures here, an adult snub-nosed cobra. With cold eyes and wings ready to burst out at any moment, the eagle seemed to have completely controlled its opponent. Its claws are deeply embedded in the snake's body, holding tightly to its prey that is writhing between life and death. In that moment, it was the absolute ruler, a fierce warrior in the sky who had defeated the killer of the earth. However, nature always contains variables. When the eagle decided to move its position, perhaps to adjust its hold or prepare for a finishing peck, it accidentally loosened its grip. And that is the opportunity that snakes have been waiting for, like an armored spring bursting open after a period of compression. The cobra raises its head, puffs its gills, and rushes straight towards its opponent. The screech seemed to tear through the quiet atmosphere, along with the extremely fast launch in just a split second. That was the last survival instinct, a life bet to reverse the situation. The eagle was startled and lost its balance for a moment. But the reflexes of a veteran bird of prey are not easily defeated. It flapped its wings, bounced back in the air, and narrowly avoided the fatal bite. The snake's surprise attack failed. This time, the snake was beaten back again, and this time, the eagle made no mistake. In our journey to discover life and death encounters between snakes and predators, we have seen an undeniable truth. Nature does not obey human-made laws. The strong may not survive, and the seemingly weak can turn the situation around in an instant. Snakes' lightning counterattacks, deadly venom, and surprising attack strategies are a reminder that, in nature, every living thing fights for survival. Thank you for coming along on this journey, and always remember, never underestimate a snake. They live around us, in the shade under the dense forest canopy, in the crevice of the rock, burning under the desert sun, in the middle of a field of knee-high grass, or sometimes right below our feet, without anyone noticing. Quiet down. No trace, no warning. They don't need noise. There's no need to fight or roar. They just wait. And when the time comes, they strike just for a moment. Succinct, exactly. No need for a second time. Does not have fangs and claws like big cats. Does not have wings like birds of prey. Doesn't have huge muscles like a crocodile. They just have patience, a supple body. And the ultimate weapon lies hidden deep in every cell. For millions of years, they still exist, almost unchanged, persevere through all mass extinctions, not because of luck, but because they are perfectly designed for survival, in silence. Science is still looking for answers. Researchers are still passionate about decoding every drop of toxin, every attack as programmed by the purest instinct. What makes the world respect them is not their size. It's effective. What you are about to witness is more than just a journey through animals. It's a reminder that there are creatures who quietly rule the world, not with the power of violence, but with the sophistication and fear of silence. And by the time you realize where they are, maybe it's too late. Deep in the jungles of tropical Africa, where sunlight only falls through the canopy of trees, there is a creature that most predators choose as their only way to survive to avoid. Not because it's huge, not because it's aggressive, but because it embodies deadly silence. No sound, no warning, and no second chances. That's the Gaboon viper. It is almost impossible to see with the naked eye if it is not moving. Its scales are tangled browns, beiges, and grays, blending perfectly into the background of rotting leaves on the forest floor. But that Persian rug-like look isn't the only thing worth noting. What truly makes it one of the most dangerous killers in the reptile world lies inside its jaws, where a pair of the longest fangs in the snake world is hidden, more than 2 inches long. It's not just the biting tool. It's a biological injection, precise, flexible, and deadly venomous. This snake does not hunt by chasing. They don't need speed. Their weapon is absolute patience. It lies still for hours, even days, completely motionless, waiting for absent-minded prey. As long as the victim accidentally steps into attack range, a rapid launch will be triggered, as accurate as an arrow shot from a drawn bow. And when the pair of fangs pierced the flesh, the venom immediately took effect. Unlike many other snakes that use neurotoxins, the Gaboon possesses a special mixture of toxins, hemotoxic and cytotoxic. Its venom destroys local tissue, disintegrates blood cells, paralyzes the circulatory system, and leads to extensive necrosis. In some cases, victims die not from respiratory failure, but because the body is no longer able to retain blood in the vessels. Blood leaks into the tissues, organs swell, and the heart stops beating due to lack of blood pressure. The scary thing is that a single Gaboon bite can inject up to 600 milligrams of venom, 4 to 5 times the fatal dose for humans. Although it rarely attacks people without being stepped on, bites often lead to serious injuries, amputations, or death if not treated promptly. Unlike other agile or fierce snakes, the Gaboon chooses a different lifestyle. It is quiet, lazy to move, and hardly chases its prey. This makes many people mistakenly think that this is a gentle snake, but that was a fatal mistake. That silence is the trap. Gaboon is the perfect proof that, in nature, death doesn't scream. Gaboon's sensor system is especially developed in the mouth and tongue areas. As the forked tongue gently glides through the air, it collects odor molecules, sending them into the Jacobson's organ located in the oral cavity for analysis and targeting. Even when the prey is out of sight, Gaboon still knows the exact direction, speed of movement, and distance, and it only attacks when it knows that its first bite will be its last. When necessary, the Gaboon can retreat or curl up to defend. But once it strikes, its speed is not inferior to any snake. A bite can occur in 0.25 seconds, faster than the reflexes of the human eye. Even though it can grow to more than 10 feet long and weigh nearly 18 pounds, the Gaboon is still extremely agile. Its body structure allows it to move smoothly through dry leaves without making a sound. When night falls, it weaves between tree roots, through ferns, and finds a convenient position to continue its ambush. An interesting thing is that the gaboon never chews or tears bait. After killing its prey, it opens its mouth wide, very wide, almost 180 degrees, and swallows it whole. Thanks to special flexible joints and a lower jaw that is not fixed like a human, it can swallow animals many times larger than its own head. When threatened by larger predators such as snakebirds, bobcats, or even humans, the gaboon often chooses to lie still to camouflage itself. But if detected and forced to react, it will emit a deep hiss from its throat, a pressure-filled sound like steam escaping from a boiler, as a final warning. And if that warning is ignored, the consequences will be terrible. But why does such a dangerous snake not cause many deaths in humans? The answer lies in its cautious nature. Gaboon doesn't like attention. It lives isolated in dense forests that are almost untouched by humans. And even when given the chance, it chooses to hide instead of attacking. However, that very habitat is gradually being destroyed. Human expansion, deforestation, road building, and mining are bringing these snakes into closer and closer contact with human settlements, and accidents are inevitable. Gaboon is a creature of contradictions. It has a beautiful appearance but hides a deadly weapon. It is lazy to move, but it has an almost unmatched attack speed. It lives silently but leaves horrifying consequences. And above all, it reminds us that in the natural world, the scariest person is not the loud one, but the one who says nothing at all. Related to the gaboon, there is a creature that is revered as a god in some cultures, but spreads terror in the deep forests of South Asia. No snake is called king, except one, the king cobra. Not an exaggerated nickname. God is not just because of its superior size, but also because of its behavior, bravery, and special status in the biological chain. At a length that can exceed 16 feet, the king cobra is the longest venomous snake on Earth, but it's what's inside that makes it powerful, a huge amount of nerve venom. Just one bite can kill a small elephant, or several dozen adult humans if not treated. But strangely, this snake rarely attacks indiscriminately. On the contrary, it behaves strategically, deliberately, like an expert general, not a madman. The special thing about the king cobra is, it eats snakes. In the snake world, most alive on mice, young birds, or small reptiles. But the king cobra, with its outstanding strength, mainly hunts other snakes, even poisonous snakes. That's why it often has no competitors. An organism that can kill another predator and then eat it is at the top of the food chain. Does not have long fangs like the gaboon viper. No need for elaborate camouflage. The king cobra approached with the demeanor of a confident creature, head held high, chest bulging, gait steady. When encountering an enemy, it can erect its front body up to a third of its body length, or more than 4 feet, as high as an adult's eye. That posture is not only to threaten, but also to observe the entire battlefield before taking action. Along with that is a characteristic hissing sound, not simply a farting sound like many other snakes. It was a deep, long, low roar vibration, enough to make any nearby creature stop. During the attack, the king cobra doesn't bite randomly. It targets the head of its prey, especially other snakes, to incapacitate it in an instant. With an extremely strong neuralizes the respiratory center, causing the victim to suffocate after just a few minutes. The scary thing is that it doesn't need to pull out its fangs right away. King cobras often hold their bite longer, injecting deeper and more venom to make sure the prey cannot fight back. Some documents record that king cobras have very good territorial memory. They can travel dozens of miles but still return to the correct nest. They also tend to defend familiar hunting grounds, not with violence, but by showing up in enough numbers to assert their position. Unlike many snake species that do not take care of their young, the king cobra is one of the few female snakes that builds nests. During the breeding season, the female uses her trunk to roll up and pile up dry leaves to form a mushroom-shaped nest. After laying eggs, it will guard for weeks, even without eating, to make sure no egg hunters come close. During this time, even humans or large animals cannot make it leave its position. Its protective instinct becomes extremely ferocious. It is this dedication that makes many researchers consider the king cobra as a species with more advanced behavior than other snakes, almost with a unique personality patient, brave and rational. However, king cobras are not completely safe in the wild. It is still threatened by birds of prey, mongooses, and especially humans. Its venom and majestic appearance make it a target for wildlife hunters. They are sold to snake farms, circuses, or the pharmaceutical industry. Many animals die on the way or die after being squeezed multiple times. However, in some cultures, such as India or Thailand, the king cobra is considered sacred, a symbol of rebirth, immortality, and wisdom. The image of the snake raising its head to protect the temple, or wrapping itself around the necks of the gods, is not just art, but also a profound recognition of its place in nature. We have just left the gloomy, majestic world of the king cobra, a king holding his head high in the middle of a dense tropical forest. But when you step foot into the hot, dry plains of Africa, another creature awaits, not sacred, not majestic, only speed and the horror. This is not an easily recognizable predator. It doesn't make a threatening sound. Do not hold your head high like a ruler. But it is considered one of the scariest snakes on the planet, not just because of toxins, but because of the way it appears and disappears like a nightmare. Black mamba snake. Despite the name black, its scales can be silver gray or pale olive, a color that blends perfectly with the dirt and withered grass of the African savanna. The name black comes from its mouth, a deep jet black color, only revealed when it opens its mouth to attack. That's the final sign. Once you see that black color, it's often too late. No snake on land is faster than it. With speeds of up to 12 miles per hour, black mambas not only move fast, but can also launch and strike multiple times in the blink of an eye. Unlike other species that lie in wait, the black mamba is a mobile hunter. It actively scouts its way, stalks its prey from afar, then approaches with almost absolute precision. A mouse, a baby bird, or a small lizard. The victim often does not understand what has happened. A second ago, the atmosphere was peaceful. Seconds later, they were hit with multiple bites in quick succession, each injecting the body with a powerful dose of neurovenom. Black mambas do not bite once and then leave like many other species. It bites many times, extremely fast, then backs away and waits for its prey to fall. With an average venom dose of 100 to 120 milligrams per bite, while just 15 milligrams is enough to kill an adult, the outcome is almost inevitable. The black mamba's venom does not cause immediate pain. Instead, it directly attacks the central nervous system, paralyzing respiratory muscles, gradually reducing heart rate, and eventually causing the victim to die of suffocation in a state of complete paralysis. After only 20 to 30 minutes, without an antidote and emergency medical assistance, the death rate is almost absolute. But what makes the black mamba legendary is not just its toxicity or speed, it's a feeling of unpredictability. It can stay silent in the bush for hours, then rush out like an arrow. They can hide in rock holes or crawl into barns, or even people's houses, especially in the dry season when natural habitats are scarce. In folklore in many parts of East and Southern Africa, the black mamba is the embodiment of instant death, without warning, without mercy. There are oral stories about a person who just stepped through a bush of grass and then collapsed immediately afterwards. When someone else ran in, only the convulsing body and a faint trail in the sand remained, where the snake had retreated. However, the truth is more complicated than the legend. Black mambas, in fact, often stay away from humans if possible. They do not actively attack unless surprised or feeling cornered. But the scary thing lies in its reflexes when it feels threatened. It does not run away like most other snakes, which will actively attack to open an escape route. And in that situation, humans, often the ones who encroach on its territory, become victims. Another difference is that the black mamba is active day, while most other venomous snakes hunt at night. This increases the chance of encounters between humans and black mambas, especially with farmers, hunters, or children living in rural Africa. In the natural environment, the black mamba is a species the researchers said is extremely effective biological balance. It controls vole populations, a species that causes great damage to agriculture and spreads disease. But unfortunately, because of extreme fear, many people still choose to kill it on sight, making the black mamba gradually become rarer in some areas. Conservation of this snake species is a difficult problem. How to make people understand that fear comes from ignorance, not from the animals themselves. The black mamba does not have the magical beauty of the gaboon viper. There is no majesty like the king cobra, but that's why it is the truest symbol of cold cruelty in nature. Fast, deadly, leaving no trace. And perhaps, what makes it even scarier is the fact that you never know where it is. We have just left the hot, dusty world of the African savanna, where death can strike like an arrow in the shape of a mamba. But not all assassins hit the ground running. Some come from above, hiding in the canopy, quietly observing every movement below, waiting for the right moment to strike. That is it, boomslang snake, a small, slender creature, and at a glance, you probably wouldn't think it belongs to the group of the most dangerous snakes on the planet. But in nature, danger does not lie in appearance. Boomslang embodies the saying, "the silent destroyer." Unlike the black mamba, which kills with speed and nerve venom, the boomslang chooses a quieter, slower, but no less deadly path: blood venom. Boomslang lives in trees. The Afrikaans word boom means tree and slang means snake. They often hide in lush green foliage. Their bodies are only about 3 to 5 feet long, and their colors vary depending on gender. Males often have beautiful black turquoise scales, while females have gray-brown scales for better camouflage. They are masters of observation. With strikingly large eyes, relatively larger than any other snake of its size, the boomslang has sharp eyesight that is almost the best in the reptile world. They can detect prey from a distance, calculate the direction of movement, and then gently glide along tree branches, almost without making any sound. And then, when the moment comes, a quick stretch, a quick bite to the body of a small bird or gecko that has no time to react. But this is not an instant death. Boomslang is in no hurry. Its venom does not immediately knock the victim down. Instead, it destroys the circulatory system. Blood toxins cause the prey's body to lose its ability to clot blood, leading to internal bleeding, hemorrhage in the brain, paralysis of blood vessels, and eventually death from the inside, slowly and irreversibly. Because of that, many of the original victims didn't even know I was bitten. No swelling, no immediate pain, just a small scratch. But a few hours later, symptoms begin to appear: nosebleeds, bleeding gums, urine turns dark red, blurred vision, slowed heartbeat. And if not treated, death can come after 24 to 48 hours from inside the victim's own body. A classic example is Carl Patterson Schmidt, a famous American herpetologist. In 1957, he was bitten on the finger by a boomslang while examining a specimen, confident in your knowledge. Mr. Record your symptoms in detail for the next 24 hours as a direct study of one's own body. The next morning, he died from internal and brain bleeding. Schmidt's death is a clear warning that the boomslang, although small and seemingly harmless, is one of the most dangerous snakes ever recorded. An interesting feature of the boomslang is that its fangs are located deep in the jaw, making it a rear-fanged snake. Unlike snakes that have front fangs, such as cobras or mambas, boomslangs have right sink your jaws deep into the flesh, just injecting enough venom. Therefore, its bite usually lasts longer, not a quick bite and let go type. And that makes many people mistakenly think that the boomslang bite is not dangerous. The opposite is true, because it doesn't cause immediate pain. Victims often do not react promptly, and death is inevitable. However, the boomslang is not an aggressive species. On the contrary, they are extremely shy. When feeling threatened, boomslang will swell its neck, unlike a cobra, but horizontally, making the head bulge like a triangle to look scarier. If pushed to the end, they will bite. Ecologists found the boomslang to be an important link in the African forest ecosystem. Boomslang, a tiny creature from the trees of Africa, shows us that size does not equal threat. But if there is a snake that has all the elements: speed, accuracy, hunting instinct, and especially super biological weapon, level venom, then that is the species you are about to meet. Let's meet the inland taipan snake, also known by its unofficial but impressive name, the fierce snake. Living in remote, arid regions of inland Australia, the inland taipan is almost a mystery to the majority of residents here. Few people have ever seen it in real life. Reason: because the inland taipan is extremely discreet. It lives deep in mouse burrows and rock crevices, and only appears when it needs to eat or when the temperature is ideal for activity. However, if that silent living space is violated and a bite occurs, the victim will face a type of venom stronger than any known snake. According to research, only 0.03 milligrams of taipan venom per 2 pounds of human body is enough to cause death. Each bite of an inland taipan can inject up to 110 milligrams of venom, enough to kill more than 100 adults, or approximately 250,000 laboratory mice. Its venom is a mixture of neurotoxicity, hematotoxicity, and myotoxicity, meaning it attacks the central nervous system, circulatory system, and muscles at the same time. Within minutes, the muscles will begin to become paralyzed. The victim will have difficulty breathing, blurred vision, dry mouth, followed by respiratory muscle paralysis. Blood begins to lose its ability to clot, causing internal bleeding. Muscle fibers disintegrate, releasing myoglobin, a substance that is harmful to the kidneys. And if not treated promptly, death will occur within just 30 to 45 minutes. Sounds scary, but the paradox is the inland taipan rarely causes death in humans. Why? First, because it's extremely timid. Unlike the mamba, or king cobra, the taipan does not stand up, does not bulge, and does not roar. It chooses a quiet, ordinary lifestyle and steps back when meeting people. They live far from residential areas, often only active in the early morning or late afternoon, when the temperature in the desert cools down. Second, because people themselves are carefully prepared. In Australia, a country famous for dangerous animals, the medical industry is very developed in venom research. Australian scientists created a specific detoxifying serum for the taipan very early. All snake catchers, researchers, or people in dangerous areas are trained in handling, first aid, and serum injection in case of bites. That doesn't mean it's less dangerous. In contrast, the inland taipan is still considered a natural biological weapon of the earth. It doesn't need to roar, just one bite. In terms of hunting behavior, the inland taipan is a skilled killer. They often hunt voles and small animals that live underground. Once they find a target, they don't need to wait long. One lunge, one bite, and retreat. They do not stand and watch their prey struggle. Instead, taipan chooses to drain and wait, like injecting a high dose of anesthesia and calmly watching the time it takes to complete the job. What is interesting is that the inland taipan seldom uses up all of its venom, unless feeling seriously threatened. In most hunts, they only use enough to kill the mouse, then leave. That shows that taipans are not extravagant. They are calculated, precise, and efficient. In terms of appearance, the inland taipan is not too large, usually about 5 feet long, but in particular, it can be up to 8 feet long. The scales are dark brown or olive, but capable of changing color according to season, darker in summer to absorb heat, brighter in winter to reflect less sunlight, a perfect adaptive mechanism between survival and stealth. Scientists are still researching why the taipan evolved such powerful venom, while its prey are only small creatures. A popular hypothesis is the low prey encounter rate in the desert forces the taipan to get it right the first time. There is no room for error. So, enhanced toxicity is the result of evolutionary pressure, not murder. However, the bigger question is, should an animal capable of taking hundreds of lives with a single bite be feared or respected? The inland taipan is one of the most extreme creatures in nature, yet it lives most quietly. It does not rebel, does not violate the living space of other species, and does not need to create resonance to prove its position. Therefore, many biologists consider the inland taipan as the ultimate incarnation of evolutionary perfection, not through form, but through performance. We have passed through the murky jungles of Central Africa, where the gaboon viper waits with absolute patience to deliver a necrotic bite. We have bowed before the majesty of the king cobra, a creature with both intelligence and killer instinct. We've run through sun-scorched savannas, where black mambas shoot like an arrow with a neurotoxin that paralyzes them in the blink of an eye. We have looked up into the forest canopy, where the boomslang, the silent killer snake, observes the world from above. And finally, we have bent deep into the cracked earth of Australia, where the inland taipan, the most venomous creature on the planet, lives quietly in solitude and amazing perfection. 5 species of snakes, 5 hunting styles, 5 distinct survival strategies. But they all have something in common. They don't need to be noisy to be rulers. In nature, roaring is not always a signal of power. Some people kill without attacking first. Some snakes live their entire lives without ever having to use the entire amount of venom they possess. And that's exactly why they're dangerous, because when needed, they won't make mistakes. The existence of venomous snakes is not a biological error. On the contrary, they are the perfect result of millions of years of evolution. Each species, from its scales to its teeth to its movement to its poison, is an affirmation that nature always knows how to create optimal mechanisms for life and death. Unfortunately, most of us view snakes with fear instead of awe. Humans kill hundreds of thousands of snakes every year. Some out of fear, some are out of superstition, some are for commercial gain. And then we wonder why rodents explode, why crops fail, and why diseases spread in barns, and homes. We forget one truth: snakes are the planet's natural filters. They are not evil. They are a necessary condition for the ecosystem to maintain balance. They keep rodents from destroying the food system. They control the population of insects, small birds, and weaker animals. They are the silent gatekeepers of forests, deserts, grasslands, and even the human countryside. They do not hunt humans. They only react when threatened. And most encounters come down to one simple thing: humans enter their territory without knowing or without respect. Now, when you know about the gaboon viper with its long, dagger-like fangs, know the king cobra with the bravery of a true king, know the black mamba, faster than all human reflexes, know boomslang, with death hidden in slowness, and the inland taipan, a creature that only needs one drop of venom to extinguish the life of an entire village. Do you still look at snakes with the same old look, or will you look at them with understanding and even respect? We've always been taught that the most dangerous creatures are big, fierce, and scream every time they walk. But in reality, some creatures choose to live in darkness. Don't show off. No fighting. Simply existing, efficient, silent, and invincible. They embody an ancient but still valid law in nature. True power comes from control, not from an outburst. And so, whether you are walking under the forest canopy, crossing the savanna, climbing a rocky hill, or standing in the heart of the desert, step softly. Because who knows, there is a creature watching you. Not for hunting, but let's wait and see. Are you wise enough not to become a threat to it?